Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk about something that could impact your Etsy business negatively, and that is purchase protection if it doesn't cover your shipments. Now, I know that, one of the rules about purchase protection is the insurance and the tracking, and insurance doesn't really play into it because insurance, if the post office says it was delivered, they won't pay out, and credit card companies won't pay out insurance in general. I have heard of very rare cases where they did pay the claim, but in general, if it says delivered, then the insurance that you bought is done. It's over. What Etsy has been doing is paying purchase protection claims on packages that the customer says they didn't get it when they actually did. It says it was delivered. Now, that doesn't guarantee that they got it. And we've talked about this before in the lives that I do on my other channel. I receive mail from my neighbors all the time. And these people that live right behind me, apparently FedEx thinks that that's where we live. All right. So, or they think that they live where I live. So they're constantly dumping stuff on my front porch that is meant for these other people here. And then we have to go over there and tell them, hey, you've got a package, come to my house to get it. So yeah, it is possible that something was misdelivered. But what Etsy has been doing is just refunding people immediately using bots without even looking into the case. And there was a situation where a seller had a bracelet or some type of jewelry that was expensive and it was signed for at delivery. And then the customer says, I didn't get it, and Etsy still refunded them. So you have to make the decision for yourself. If you want to sell on Etsy without tracking, without the purchase protection, or if you want to sell really expensive things on Etsy. Now, personally, and this can get tricky because if somebody comes to your shop and buys a lot of lower price things that adds up to the over 250 amount, what do you do? And you're going to have to think about that situation when it comes up. But in general, if I was a seller who had prices that were going to be higher than $250, not like with the shipping, and that includes the cost of the shipping. So if it's $240 that the item is and the shipping is $11, that puts you over the limit. And Etsy will not cover that through their funds under purchase protection. They will refund the customer, but it will come out of your account. So even if the customer says that something was delivered and it says delivered, and we know that the post office doesn't track things right either. So a lot of times they'll say delivered, but then it doesn't come until 2 days later. And this is confusing for customers. We know this stuff, but the customers don't because they don't deal with it all the time. But if that's the case and the customer files a claim, then Etsy could automatically just refund them out of your money, even though it says it was delivered and you did everything right. But if it's over that $250 limit, it does not qualify for purchase protection, and Etsy makes the final decision about whether to refund. Now, whether this kind of stuff is increased since the purchase protection went into effect or not, I don't know, because people always could file a claim with their credit card companies or their PayPal or whatever. And Etsy didn't really have a hand in it, but Etsy is taking it now and running with it. So you need to decide for yourself. If you sell things that are really expensive and you cannot afford to take a hit on one item, because most things are going to be fine. Most transactions are going to be fine. They're going to get there no problem. But this is something to pay attention to because if you do sell things that are more expensive and two or three of these happen per month or even per year, it could be a hit on your bottom line. And yes, you can write it off as an expense in your business taxes, but that's not as good as actually making a profit. You have to make that decision for yourself, like I said, but just be aware that if that's the situation, and that is the situation now on Etsy, that you do need to think about this. And like I said, if you have things that will add up to over $250, that's a good question because I do have people every now and then who come in and order a lot of stuff. And that's the kind of thing where I would want to get in touch with them and say, hey, I'm going to have this sent with a signature. Where should I send it? I want to make sure you get it, and that kind of thing. And if you can't do that for every transaction because your prices are a little bit higher than mine, then you're going to have to figure out for yourself if it's even worth selling on Etsy anymore. Because if they're automatically refunding these things, and if it happens to you more than once, it's going to hurt. But just is something to think about, right? I'm not saying don't sell on Etsy or do sell on Etsy. Just be aware of this, and you need to figure this out for yourself and what your level of risk is, what you're willing to tolerate, and just make a decision. But look into the purchase protection. Etsy is using bots to do these decisions. They're not looking at the actual facts. And unless that changes, I would advise people that have anything that's over $250, including shipping, as a single item to not sell it on Etsy. Just start your own website, sell it there, send your social media there. But if Etsy is going to do this without actually looking at the facts of the case, then that's going to hurt our bottom lines in the long run. And it doesn't hurt them if they're refunding it out of our accounts, but we need to make the decision for ourselves whether that's all right for our businesses. So just something to think about. That's all I'm saying. But be aware of it and be aware that Etsy is kind of refunding at the drop of a hat. And then you have to go through Etsy to try to get the money back. It's a big pain. Leave me any questions and I will talk to you later.